Today we're watching Nick Fuentes lose his mind at his own audience for being too stupid to function politically. And he's completely right. Now here's what's hilarious. Fuentes spent years building an audience of people who hate Jews, and now he's shocked that they can't think beyond "Jews did it" when anything happens. It's like Dr. Frankenstein complaining that his monster won't sit quietly and read poetry. But strip away the irony and Fuentes is making some genuinely brutal points about how conspiracy grifting has destroyed any chance of building serious right-wing politics. These people have turned political analysis into a carnival game where every single event gets the same explanation, and Fuentes is watching his movement get hijacked by complete morons. Pay attention to how he describes the grift economy. People figured out that blaming Jews for everything is the easiest way to build a following, so now you've got armies of low-IQ content creators who know nothing about politics beyond pressing the anti-Semitism button.
So last week they said Charlie Kirk was just murdered, Israel's responsible. Now the natural question for anyone skeptical, someone like myself, is why would Israel kill Charlie Kirk? He was pro-Israel until the day he died. What's the motive there? Anti-Semitism is exploding everywhere in the world. The whole world has turned against Israel. The youth, the right, the left, everyone has turned against Israel. Why would they kill one of the few people that is still pro-Israel? And they said, well, they're going to replace him with someone even more pro-Israel. I said, yeah, that seems far-fetched. That seems like a stretch. Ben Shapiro, in his coverage of it the following day, said, I will pick up the blood-stained microphone from Charlie Kirk and carry on the mission. Now, I took that to mean rhetorically that he is going to keep fighting the same fight, that he is going to do campus events, he will advocate for basic conservatism. Rhetorical. He didn't mean I'm literally going to take over Turning Point. I think what he meant was we're going to carry on the battle for conservatism. Everybody else said, that means Ben Shapiro's taking over Turning Point. It's regime change. They killed Kirk to get Shapiro in charge. Kirk was wavering, so they needed to appoint a more staunch, hardline person that is pro-Israel. Well, what happened in the past few days? Did Ben Shapiro replace Charlie Kirk? Idiots. If Israel murdered Charlie Kirk, and if that was credible in any way, and Erica Kirk knew about that, how would that help Israel? If Charlie Kirk was wavering, he was obviously pro-Israel. He talked to his rabbi the morning that he died about how to defend Israel on his campus tour. If Charlie Kirk was wavering and Israel killed him, now he's replaced by his wife. Do you think she's going to be more or less pro-Israel than him? In other words, the booth that Charlie Kirk is speaking at is supposed to be this crime scene where they have to steal the SD cards to conceal something that took place in the booth. Okay, there's 100 cameras pointed at the booth. From the right, from the left, from up close, from far away. Oh, but there's one camera that we don't have the angle. I bet there's damning evidence on that SD card. Really? Well, apparently, not only does Turning Point have it, which is under the control of Erica Kirk, but also the FBI has it, and also apparently Candace Owens has it. So I'm sorry, once again, what are they hiding in the booth? Because the low IQ anti-Semitism is dragging us to hell. It really is. We have reached a critical mass, and let's be honest, since October 7th, it has been a grift for many to glom on and post the most base, and I'm not saying based, I'm saying base, as in low, simple, primitive. It has been a fucking grift for various freaks and losers. They know that if they just shovel out the most low IQ, anti-Jew content, That's the easiest way to blow up on Twitter right now, just obviously. And as a consequence, now there isn't even a semblance of a movement. It's just an assortment of like Muslims that are anti-white, many of them, and many of them aren't American. A number of weirdo leftists, other assorted people, because it is so popular and just easy, frankly, to shit on Israel and get a following. Now we have a ton of these people. And they don't understand politics. They don't know anything about politics at all or how it works. All they know is how to press one button. And so everything that happens. Now, granted, because of the nature of the problem, that's a pretty reliable button to press. If you look at many of the events over the past 2 years, if you're pressing the Jew button every time, you're gonna have like a 95% hit ratio, 99% hit rate. But I started to get pissed off when people said, oh, you don't believe it automatically? You got the memo, you got the call, you're afraid. Fuck you, I'm still at my house. I'm afraid, I'm still at my fucking house where someone tried to kill me. I'm not afraid of fucking nothing. And I've been on this for 10 years. I'm not gonna take shit from some health conspiracy theorist, from some crypto grifter pointing the finger at me saying I'm not a true believer. Fuck you. But once you bring in these low IQ people and they just start to say, and I saw this on Twitter, I couldn't believe it. People said, we don't need evidence. We don't need evidence? They said the precedent is good enough evidence. So we're not even gonna talk about the facts of the case. It's just enough to say that other things happened there. That's not logical. Some people said, well, we're never gonna get evidence. That's where you lose people. When you start to say that we are making assumptions without evidence, when you start to say we're literally gonna blame Israel for everything, no matter what, just on account of, that's when you lose people. And that's, by the way, when very sophisticated Jewish people and Zionists, they're going to look for that opening. And they're going to say, look, these people don't know what they're talking about. They are crazy, they are cranks, they just blame the Jews for everything, they're making assumptions. Credibility is very important. So maybe this is actually a good opportunity to say, we are not the same as these left-wing communists. We are not the same as these Muslim third worldists. We may all have problems with Israel, but we don't all have the same problem with Israel. A lot of these Muslims, they don't give a fuck about America. And they don't give a shit about white people either. They hate Israel because their homeboys are being killed. And I get it. You know what? I understand that. And on some level, as a Christian, I sympathize with them. But they do not care about America. And that is the country in which we reside, and that is the name of the show. The show is called America First. So you go to these protests, and don't kid yourself. They're out there in their keffiyeh or whatever. They're out there in their bandanas, not because they give a fuck about our country, but because, Muslims are dying. And if it wasn't for that, it would be back to your regularly scheduled programming. They'd be out there with the raised fist right next to BLM. That's just the truth. And I saw that from Tucker. I saw Tucker shamelessly pander, and that's what it was. And listen, maybe me and Tucker are in something like a detente. I will tell no lies. I'm not going to be polemical here. But I thought that that's just what this was. It was shameless pandering. On his show, he hosted the Charlie Kirk show today. And Tucker said, well, I don't believe Israel was involved. He said, but I understand why people don't believe the government narrative because we've been lied to, and I get it that they don't. Do you feel stupid? You should feel stupid. When you hear that, I hope you feel like a stupid fucking baby, because that is how you are being treated. That is how Tucker and many of these people on the dissident media circuit, that is how they have come to know how to treat you. to treat you like a whining, crying, stupid, pants-shitting baby. They have to wipe your disgusting, dirty asshole. Because they know that if they tell you the truth, Tucker knows that if he goes on his show and says, that's ridiculous, Israel doesn't kill Charlie Kirk, people are going to say, oh, he's a shill, blah, blah, blah. So he's got to go on the show and say, well, I don't believe that, but if you believe that, oh, I totally get it. I understand. You've been lied to. I get it. That's pandering. That is shameless pandering. He is shamelessly placating irrationality. He is shamelessly placating the irrational mob that is so gaslit and frankly low IQ that that's all they know how to do anymore is hit one button, one note. And the moment that people start to tell me Charlie Kirk of all fucking people got killed by Israel, that's where it's like, okay, you jumped the shark. That's the jumping the shark moment. Charlie Kirk was killed by Israel. You won't entertain the notion that Charlie Kirk, a polemical culture warrior, a mouthpiece for the GOP, you think it's insane that he got killed by a left-wing nut job because there's no left-wing nut jobs? Because there's no right and left? It's all just, that's the jumping the shark moment for me.
What we just watched is Nick Fuentes having a meltdown because he finally realized he created a monster he can't control. But here's the thing, Fuentes is actually right about the core problem. When your entire political worldview becomes blame the Jews for everything, you stop being a political movement and become a conspiracy theory fan club. And conspiracy theory fan clubs don't win elections or change governments. The Charlie Kirk assassination conspiracy perfectly demonstrates this. These people were so programmed to blame Israel for everything that they couldn't even process basic logic. Why would Israel kill one of their most useful idiots? Kirk was literally defending bombing Iran the morning he got shot. If Israel was going around assassinating people, they'd start with actual enemies, not their own cheerleaders. But the conspiracy addicts couldn't handle this cognitive dissonance. They've been trained like Pavlov's dogs to hear bad thing happened and immediately respond with Jews did it. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. It doesn't matter if there's evidence. The programming kicks in automatically. Fuentes describes this perfectly when he talks about people who don't need evidence because precedent is good enough. This is exactly how conspiracy thinking destroys your brain. You stop looking at specific facts and just apply the same template to everything. The grift economy he describes is absolutely real. There's been a gold rush of opportunists who figured out that posting low-effort anti-Semitic content gets you followers fast. So now the space is flooded with people who know nothing about politics but know how to generate outrage about Jews. It's like the internet version of late-night TV scam artists. Fuentes makes a crucial point about credibility that most of these conspiracy addicts completely miss. If you want normal people to trust your analysis over mainstream institutions, you better have something better than trust me bro, it's always the Jews. You need actual evidence, logical reasoning, and intellectual consistency. Otherwise, why wouldn't people just stick with CNN? What's particularly brutal is watching Fuentes realize that his own movement has been overrun by the kind of people he used to mock on the left, mindless ideologues who can't think beyond their programming. These people have turned right-wing politics into the same kind of reflexive, emotion-driven groupthink that dominates liberal spaces. People don't want accurate analysis, they want analysis that confirms their existing biases and makes them feel smart. This creates a race to the bottom where the most successful content creators are the ones who tell people exactly what they want to hear. When your analysis never goes beyond Jews pad, you can't build the kind of sophisticated political alliances necessary to actually change anything. You just end up screaming into the void with other people who are also angry about Jews.